How's it going, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome to episode 2 of One Deck, 1 Month featuring Earth Machines. Now, if you haven't checked out the first episode, feel free to do so by clicking the annotation up here in the top right so you can be all caught up on this current series. But it is Saturday right now. It is about 4:36, so I do want to be heading out in a little less than an hour so I can get there early, get everything set up right. Don't want to be rushing because, man, there's one thing that I hate, and that's rushing to get to a locals. Last thing you want to be doing before you're playing in a tournament is to be all rushed and everything. But I do want to take this moment to update you guys on some things regarding the deck list, how we're making on getting those droplets, and some things we've acquired over the week as well, and some things we've sort of learned, I guess. But the first thing we're going to talk about is the deck list, and here it is, just a classic Dueling Book screenshot. Now, the only difference between this list and the list I showed you guys at the end of last week's episode is that the Lancias are replacing droplets. And the reason droplet is not in the main because, we don't have them yet. We're still trying to sell some cards. I did sell an Invoked Core over the week, 3 Alistair, 3 Invocation, and 3 Meltdown, all secret rare. That for about 160. Sold that core on top of the Lightning Storms 190 is about 350, so we're getting pretty close to being able to buy that set of droplets because it's going to run me about 380. So that's the reason why droplet's not in this list, and we're going to try running Lancia because I find Lancia is a pretty high impact hand trap. There's quite a bit of invoked at our locals, so to me it seems like a pretty good meta call in the main deck. Now, I thought about Phantasme, but Phantasme just conflicts with one too many cards for me to want to play, conflicting with Metal Cruncher, and also conflicting with Bullet. We need to control all Earth machines, so it can conflict. So I'm just going to keep it out of the main and side. I know it was in the side in last week's episode, but I've since took that out for Gozen Match. And I think Gozen Match is going to be a really nice addition to the side deck. A very strong going first Floodgate that I feel like a lot of the better decks are going to struggle against. Invoke Shaddoll being one of them. Right when they link for their Almirage, that's going to really hurt them if they get hit with a Gozen Match. Same thing with Prank Kids. Gozen Match has got to be pretty darn good against. Dragon Link is one thing, but they do play a lot of light and darks and, some wins with the Dragoonity stuff and Appaloosa, so it might be pretty okay against Dragon Link. And against anything else, we'll just have to see it, right? But yeah, that's what the current deck list looks like. The only other thing I was thinking about doing was maybe instead of playing BLS Link, playing a rank 7 like Red Ice Flare Metal or Gaia Thunder the Dragon Charger or Thunder Charger. But I haven't really had a chance to test those. So that's what the list is going to look like. It might be 40 cards if I just cut the Ashes and the Lancias and main Dark Ruler. I might do that. I don't know because, cutting it down to 40 mathematically does end up being better to give us a higher chance of seeing the cards we want to see more often. But it also does slightly increase the chance of us seeing the cards we don't want to see as often. Like multiple Brutal Dozer in the hand, or multiple big Infinitrack monsters. That's why I like going a little over 40 with this deck, because there are quite a few extenders and superior extenders that are just really bricky to draw at any given point in time. But we'll go over the math, 40 versus 43, seeing starters, seeing interruptions off our tunneler draws. We'll go into that a little bit later because I do want to make a little segment regarding that, just to get the numbers out there for this particular deck list. Now, real quick, there are some things I want to show you guys that we did pick up over the weekend. Imperium did actually send me a few things. And the first, I did end up actually buying some sleeves, but they sent me some stuff alongside those sleeves. I did pick up 6 packs of the Obsidian Black sleeves because I have not ordered sleeves in quite some time due to there being no locals. But they also sent me these new matte bag designs here. You got Pot of Greed, Monster Reborn, Harpy's Feather Duster, Solemn Judgment. I think this one is probably my favorite. I really like the contrast between the blue and the pink. So that is what my mat is currently in. And I also got the brand new deck box from them too, the Fire Attribute deck box with the yellow interior, the McDonald's deck box. Low-key really like the color scheme though. And we got of course, a dice tray down the bottom. Gotta say, these are really, really nice deck boxes, man. I used to use the Monster Protector deck boxes for years, but these hands down are my absolute favorite now. And not only do we get all that cool stuff, but I also picked up some sort of higher rarity cards for the deck too over the week. The first being 3 of these ultra rare torrential tributes. They do look very, very nice. I only wish I would have got the secret rare ones, but the ultras will do. And I also picked up a rarity bumped set of Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. I did pick up a set of secrets, looking very, very nice. I gotta say, this is one of the nicest looking traps in the game, hands down. It's just so, the red and the gold and the secret rare just works very, very well together. And as I was thumbing through here, that reminded me I'm also playing a copy of Call by the Grave and Derek Crane as that one again, because, well, I'm just very, very indecisive. And technically, Call by the Grave and Derek Crane were supposed to do the same thing, but Call by the Grave can be a little bit more versatile, I guess, than the Derek Crane can be. So I don't know. We'll try it. We'll see how it goes. If I really miss that second Derek Crane after tonight, it'll just go right back into the main deck, of course. No issues there. But yeah, those are all the things that I picked up over the week. I was going to get on Dueling Book and do some play testing, but I never actually got the chance to do so. I was going to do it yesterday, but I pretty much spent all day yesterday editing feature matches that have probably already gone up at this point. So go check those out if you haven't already. But yeah, I think that pretty much sums up everything I wanted to update you guys on. Now I'm just going to get ready for locals, hop in the shower, make a post on my Facebook group, saying what cards I have got for sale, and hopefully again we can make some money moves at locals and try and get that play set of droplets secured, because they will go into the main deck. So yeah, that's everything I want to talk about. We'll see you guys at locals or just before. We've arrived at locals. We're gonna go in there, get everything set up, and see if we can sell a few cards. And I gotta say, it is so warm out. And you know what's even worse? Not having any air conditioning in your car. But we'll be getting that fixed soon. Well, that wraps up locals. Just getting ready to leave. It's just a little bit after 10. I do want to give like a quick little, while my mind is fresh, quick little like general thoughts on the whole experience. It was a little rough. I felt like I drew way more bad hands than I really should have, but maybe that's just variance getting in the way. There's really no one specific card that I really had an issue with tonight, so it's really hard to pinpoint exactly what caused those problems. Maybe I should go back to 40 cards. Maybe that is the answer at the end of the day. Maybe it was just not having droplets, who knows. And I also realized I wasn't able to get that much footage in between rounds, so I do apologize for that. Just really didn't have the time to grab the camera off the tripod at all. A lot of the feature matches went pretty long, and we didn't really have a lot of time to film some other stuff. Only was able to film after the fact. So, yeah, we're going to head home, make some food, and we'll get that tournament report coming right up. Alrighty, so it is currently Tuesday. Yeah, I said I was going to do it that night after, but I just haven't really had time to get around to doing this here tournament report, but I did take detailed notes this time around, so I can actually give a better tournament report for you guys. So, round 1, we played against Dalinky, the PK variant of Dragon Link, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably seen at this point. Makes Bardiche mid-combo, sets up Fog Blade, and uses Quad Boral and does all these shenanigans, if you will. I think the regular Dragon Link deck is better. I think because it has like better follow-ups and stuff. At least that's what some of my friends have told me that play Dragon Link. At least play the standard Chaos variant, but doesn't really matter. We'll just talk about how the match played out. So game 1, I think I win Dire, which is great. I want to go first, everything. But the problem is I open up an unplayable hand. I set Ancient Gearbox. Yep, we love to open the Ancient Gearbox. Double Torrential and a Called by the Grave. He starts with either a Terraforming for Ravine or he started with Chaos Space, but either way, he pitched Abzo Router to the grave, and I called by that, and it pretty much slowed him down. He just ended on a Romulus, I believe, and he attacked into my set Ancient Gearbox. He took 800, and then he passed his turn. And on my turn, I draw a Metal Cruncher, which is great, but I've got this Ancient Gearbox face up on my field, making it so I can't normal summon it. So I have to use the Tunneler in my hand to tribute off the box, summon that, trigger one of my Torrentials, then follow up by normal summoning the Cruncher, which he then hits with a Forbidden Droplet. And then I hit him for 900. I pass. He starts with Duster to hit my last set, which was another Torrential. He doesn't do much after that. He passes back to me. I top deck a Dozer. I have to pass back to him. He's able to find Levianeer, shuffles back the only card in my hand, and I think next turn I draw Ash, and then I just scoop. So game 2, I side in Droll, and I think I took out the Ash. Ideally, I should probably left both in. That was probably a little bit of a side decking error on my behalf. Lancea, of course, is already in the main deck since I was maining it for that event. I opened Double Harvester, Wing Blast, Tunneler, and Droll. I get Drolled on the resolution of Harvester to search a Dozer. I link for the Goliath and use the Dozer to summon a Trencher, make Riverstormer, send Citadel. So I link the Stormer then for a Goliath, and then I think I use Trencher to bring back out Dozer, make a second Goliath, and that's all I did. I didn't want to make just a Knuckle because I didn't have any good targets in Grave, and I just wanted to leave multiple machines on my field so I'd have the greatest amount of chances for my opponent to be able to trigger the Citadel on his turn. And I just set the Wing Blast. My opponent starts with Chaos Space by pitching Abzo Router, so yeah, I think game 1 he might have definitely have started with the Ravine. But I draw on the res of Chaos Space, and he normals Seifert and really doesn't have much of a follow-up after that. My memory's a little foggy here, so I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember he just having a Seifert. And then he really couldn't do much after that. But on my turn, I start with Stormer, sending one of the Goliaths I had to add a bullet. In hindsight, I feel like I should have added Fortress, but I just make Knuckle and Ender Blastnir to banish his safer. End phase bullets add back the Harvester. My Tunneler didn't really draw me into any interruptions, which is kind of a problem. I also feel like I could have played this turn out much better, but for some reason I just literally couldn't think straight. And maybe I could have made a much better play. Like I said, maybe adding Fortress would have been a better call, but instead I just defaulted to doing like a standard rank 9 play, making a bit of a safer play. I was thinking about banishing a card out of his hand, but I didn't want him to be able to take advantage of Seifert's grave effect, so I just banished the Seifert and swung in for damage. So yeah, that's it for my turn. And then on his turn, he starts by special summoning White Dragon Wyvern Burster. I immediately use Wing Blast on it. And then he asks me if it discards for cost, and then he hits me with Red Reboot and proceeds to OTK. So yeah, that was that. Now round 2 is actually the feature match versus Cosmo, so let's go take a look at that. Okay, so we are playing Cosmo as I've mentioned, and we do win the die roll, and I do get to go first, and I open up Harvester, which leads to the standard combo. We are under no interruptions. My opponent was like, I got nothing, just go off. And go off we did. And I was also lucky enough to, I believe, have opened the bullet in hand. So I did get access to Daracrane during this combo, which is really clutch because it's going to allow me to end on number 81. Super Dreadnought guy, and that will just add, to a better board at the end of the day. And I do have Torrential and Wing Blast as well, so a really, really strong board. End phase number 81. Target itself, add back Harvester, and my op starts with the Harpy's Feather Duster. You really hate to see it, but to make matters worse, he's going to have the Lightning Strike Kaiju for my number 81, and he's going to have a Interrupted Slumber, which I gladly chain the Knuckle to target Bullet to get that out onto the field, so it does get destroyed by Slumber, so I can again secure an end phase recursion from that of Bullet. Now my field is wide open, and I'm really hoping he doesn't have something like Farm Girl. I do have an Ash in my hand, but it's not really going to do me a whole lot right now. Luckily for me, he just has a Good Witch that tags into the Dark Lady, and he adds back Wicked Witch off of his town, and he uses town's other effect to recycle it back to draw 1. I was debating on ashing that, trying to stop him from drawing into anything really good, but he doesn't find anything, luckily. And all I have to worry about is a monster negate now on my turn, which is not that bad. To start my turn off, I do have Urgent Schedule, which did come in very, very clutch here, summoning out Harvester and that of Fortress, because Harvester Fortress paired together is a really good starting combo. I probably could have summoned something else, but I start by summoning Knuckle here by sending off Fortress, and I was really just trying to bait out this monster negate in any way that I could. I link for Goliath and use Stormer, sending the Stormer or the Goliath as cost, and that's where he ends up using the negate, which turns out is actually a really good spot to use that negate, especially if you only have one monster negate. But luckily I have Fortress still, and I pitch the Trencher and Box to the grave, and then Trencher brings out Harvester. That searches me the Drill, and then we go into Enter Blathnir since we are not locked into anything yet. And I banish the Dark Lady here. Obviously, he can get it back at this point. To be honest, I probably should have banished his Cosmo Town. I really don't know why I didn't. That probably would have been much better in this case. I then use Heavy Forward to turn Enter Blathnir to defense to try to protect life points and whatnot, and that really just does it for the turn. He does have another Kaiju for Anger Knuckle, and then he goes ahead and proceeds to use Cosmo Town here to recycle 2, which again I could have ashed, but I didn't. Not really sure why. I guess I was just trying to hold it for something else, and luckily I did, because he does have an Allure, which he blindly uses and does not draw him into anything, unfortunately for him. So here in game 2, he does go first, starts with Terraforming, goes for Cosmo Town, activates Allure of Darkness, banishes Dark Lady, doesn't really care though, because he's just going to pay 600 to get it back to his hand. And then using Cosmo Town's other effect, recycling a Straw Man and a Slip Rider back into the deck to draw 2. Man, I always thought that Allure and Cosmo Town, such a crazy interaction to have within the deck. Might as well not even be like a downside to use Allure, especially when paired with Town. He uses Tin Can. I give him the Dark Destroyer, unfortunately. Didn't really want to do that, but just is how it played out. And he has Dark Lady too, so I've got to worry about the Dark Lady, the Dark Destroyer, and Imperial Order on top of that, which really hurts. I set 2 and pass, one being another Heavy Forward, and a Wing Blast is the other card. So yeah, Wing Blast technically can out this order, and then I can make Enter Blathnir to banish it off the top of his deck if I really, really want it gone. Yeah, so I Wing Blast it, ditching the Tunneler. Now I've given myself a turn here, which is really good, you know, just to be able to have the chance to play. So we're going to flip up that other Heavy Forward, grab Harvester, normal summon Harvester, attempt to activate effect. Now remember, he does still have a monster negate from the Dark Lady, so things aren't really going as good as they seem. I did have a Dozer in hand, so I was debating, you know, do I even use the Harvester and just try to go for the heavy, just go for the Dozer, but then he'll just negate that. So he did make the right play. He gets the Dark Cruiser on the field and then swings in with just a bunch of damage, and we're on to game 3. Really not much I could do in that situation. So here I have to start my combo with Fortress, pitching Bullet, and then using Dozer to tribute away that Fortress. Luckily here I did have the Daracrane to help chain block that Dozer and ensure that effect did go through to protect from Ash. And then here we're just sort of going the standard route, linking double Goliath into Ballista effect to activate, adding Good Boy Box, adding Tunneler right off of that, and now tributing the Ballista for Tunneler and going for another Goliath. And here I believe since I had to pitch that Bullet very early on in the turn, I couldn't keep it in hand, obviously, to use an extender at this point. So I had to link it off for Knuckle, which is really unfortunate, because if I didn't have to do that, I could have made number 81 on my end board. But luckily my Tunneler does draw me into some pretty good traps. I believe I have Gozen Match and Torrential Tribute, and of course an add back off of Bullet. So all in all, not a really bad end board. So my opponent is going to start with a Raigeki. I'm going to chain Knuckle just so I can get Bullet out. And not only is that going to get Bullet out and into the grave for the end phase effect, But on the resolution of Raigeki, since my bullet was destroyed, I'll get Citadel out onto the field to act as a walking Raigeki. My opponent is going to have the Cosmic. He does hit the Torrential, and then he's going to go ahead and play Town, putting back to really just trying to draw into something, probably an E-Telly, a Tin Can, maybe an Allure of Darkness here. Draws into Gamma, and what looks to be Monster Reborn. So really not the strongest hand right now. Yeah, and then another copy of Cosmotown. So he's going to activate Monster Reborn, and he's going to steal Bullet. But he didn't bother reading what Bullet says first. But he now knows that in order to attack with it, you have to send 2 other cards you control to the grave. So he just passes right there. On my turn, I top deck the Heavy forward, go for Harvester. Harvester adds the Trencher. And we're just going to go off here. I find that using Dozer turn 3 is just not really desirable at all. I really wish there was a way in Earth Machine to not have to play 3 Dozer, because seeing him pretty much any time after turn 1 really does kind of suck. Top decking him is really, really bad. And as you can see here as I'm talking about Dozer, I assemble game. And yeah, so we take that match against Cosmo 2-1 relatively easily. Alright, so round 3, we played against Zoo, Dogmatica Zoo. Game 1, he goes first, ends on Drident, Hammer Kong, and Ecclesia with 2 set and a Fleur-de-Lis in hand, and I really cannot play through it. He had double Imperm, was his set, and I had, multiple follow-ups, but just the double Imperm and the Drident was just a little too much. Game 2, I go first, play through an Ash and an Imperm. I have a Torrential for him on the summon of Borbo. He did start with Rat, and I used Knuckle to summon Bullet, then use Overdrive, triggers the Citadel, but he did have the DD Crow. Torrential was just good enough to stop him, though, either way. And next turn, we're able to pull off the OTK with Gustav and Juggernaut Lieb. And that brings us to an all-important Game 3, where he starts with the Barrage. I have the Ash, but he does have the Tanky to follow up. And he ends on a Set Judgment, Imperm with a Drident on board. I open Chalice, Twin Twister, Ash, Citadel, and Dozer. I draw Heavy forward for turn. He has Ash. Then I have to pass. Next turn, he makes a Vespinato, then makes Zeus. I Chalice the Zeus and try to twin the sets by pitching the Citadel. Then he has a Judgment for the twin. I set an Ash and pass. Next turn, he pops Heavy forward with Drident, then attacks the Ash with his Zeus. On my turn, I draw Harvester, activate effect, he Imperms it, then I use Dozer, and he Judgments the summon. GG. So he just had a lot of really good back row. I could not see any of my Twin Twisters. And just did not see optimal hands in that match whatsoever. Like I said, we did have some pretty rough hands. And then round 4, I don't really know what to call this deck. I'm just going to call it 2005 anti-meta, because I feel like this guy is just living in 2005. And I mean, that's perfectly okay, but he's just living rent-free in 2005 with this deck. Game 1, I go first, do the rank 9 combo, and just win very quickly after that. Game 2, he goes first, ends on Breaker the Magical Warrior, 3 set, and equips it with Moon Mirror Shield. I use Slicer to clear the Moon Mirror, and Safe Zone that he had to OTK him, because before that, I had a Twin Twister to clear the other 2 sets, but he had a Judgment for it, so that dropped him down to 4k, and OTKing after that, as you imagine, would be really, really easy, being only at 4k life. So that ends up being the tournament report there. We end up finishing 2-2. I don't know what it is. I had so much success months and months before going back to locals with this deck. Even the weekend before I started filming for the series, I went 4-0. Something that's never happened on this series yet. Won a box tournament, won a couple other locals getting first place there, and now that the series is back, I'm just stuck X2 scrubbing, man. I don't know what it is. It's very, very rough. It's been very, very rough, and hopefully our luck changes going forward. So next thing I want to go ahead and talk about in this video is the numbers. I said I was going to talk about it earlier on in this episode. I just want to show you guys the quick math around 40 versus 43 cards. And what we're really working with in terms of like consistency and things like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so all the data I'm going to be showing you guys here is calculated using a hypergeometric calculator, which I used on a website called StatTrak. I'll leave a link to it down below. I learned to do this type of calculation from Patrick Hoban's book, Road to the King. It's just a really cool way to be able to calculate probability of seeing, certain cards within your deck. And the first metric we're going to look at is our chances of seeing a starter card, one of 12 in a 40 card deck, and our chances of drawing one. The very bottom number, move the decimal places over 2 points to the right, and that gives us an 85% chance of seeing at least one. And then we're going to be comparing that to 41 cards. The number only goes down to about 84%, 84.1%, so it's not that huge of a jump or a loss in consistency going from 40 to 41. I know I said I was going to do 40 versus 43, but my current main deck as I'm doing this is 41 cards, so I figured this would be more useful. Okay, so the next metric we're going to look at is something I'm sure a lot of you guys will be interested in, and it's our chance of drawing Ancient Gearbox. Yeah, the one-of Garnet that we're playing with in the deck. And at playing 40 cards, we see that we have a 12.5% chance of drawing one in our opening hand of 5 cards. Now, if we compare that to 41, we see that we have a 12.1% chance of drawing one in our opening hand of 5 cards. And even at 43, I found that this number only goes down to like the mid 11% range. So the diminishing returns are real with this one. Increasing the main deck count between 40 to 43 really doesn't give you that much of a difference in seeing this one-of brick. But we see a much more noticeable difference in seeing our starter cards. It's a 3 to 4% difference if we jump up to 43 cards. So if we're, trying to make the deck less susceptible to seeing Ancient Gearbox in the opening hand, playing over 40 cards really isn't worth it unless we're going like to 50 cards or above. But at that point, we lose a lot of consistency in seeing our starter cards, so it's really just not worth going over 40 to at least address this specific problem of drawing Ancient Gearbox. Alright, so the next data point I find to be the most interesting, I will say. This is going to be looking at our chances of drawing one interruption off of Tunneler via the redeployment combo. And the reason I point out the redeployment combo specifically is because this will thin out our deck the most, so that, by the time we are drawing off Tunneler, we have the least amount of cards in our deck that we can possibly have. Then Heavy Forward, I think, would be next, and then starting any combo with just Harvester and Metal Cruncher will give us the least chance because we'll have slightly more cards within our main deck. But looking at 40 cards, we find that as just we're about to resolve Tunnel, we have 29 cards left in the main deck via the redeployment combo, and our chance of drawing exactly one interruption, so a trap, a hand trap, Call by the Grave, whatever it may be, is about 51.7%, and our chance of seeing at least one, so the possibility of maybe seeing more, is about 74% chance as we're about to resolve Tunneler. Now, if we go to 41 cards, where our deck size at the point we're about to resolve Tunneler is 30 cards, one of our 14 interruptions that we have in the deck, at least that my current build has, we see that we have a 51.4% chance of drawing exactly one and a 72.4% chance. So we see about a 2% decrease just via one card extra in the deck. And you can imagine adding 2 more cards to play at 43 would make that number go down even more, probably to the very low 70s. So you can see that is a bit of a noticeable increase there, and more so of a reason to play 40 or 41 versus that of 43 in our case. Okay, so it was a little tricky to try and calculate this, and maybe there is a better way, but basically for this, we're going to be looking at the chance of drawing a potentially unplayable hand at 40 versus 41. So the way I calculated this was for the number of successes in population, I put 14, because in total there are about 14 cards in my particular list that if you see multiple of those cards of that particular type, like superior and additional extenders, together in the same hand, they often equate to poor and almost unplayable, and most of the time actually unplayable hands. And these are cards like Trencher, Tunneler, Dozer, Citadel, Derek Crane, Bullet, and Overdrive, because these are cards, when clumped together in great numbers, will oftentimes attribute to unplayable hands, hands where you're not seeing your important starter card. So with the sample size, we obviously use 5, but number of successes in sample, we put 3, because let's say we have a hand of Double Dozer Trencher paired with some other traps, right? We have an unplayable hand. So we're going to be looking at the hypergeometric probability of seeing exactly 3. And we see the chance of drawing exactly 3 of these type of cards is about 17.9% at 40, and at 41 brings us down to about a flat 17. And you can imagine if we go up to 43, that number probably dips into the 16%. So all in all, we're not really seeing too huge of a difference between 40 and 41. But I mean, to begin with, the chance of, seeing these hands in general is pretty low, which is kind of nice. The only way you could probably bring this down even more is if there was some way to be able to play Dozer at 1 within the main deck, but unfortunately that makes Cruncher a far worse card, so there really is no way to get around it. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up my little math segment. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's go ahead and keep moving on. And some other good news I wanted to share with you guys was that over the week, I did end up streaming on my Twitch like I do every Sunday and Monday. Link to that down below. But on Sunday, I played a little Dueling Book Rated, and we ended up going 4-0 over the course of the stream. We played Anti-Meta, 2 Mermails, and a Guru deck. And then on Monday, ended up doing a remote duel stream playing against viewers where we went undefeated there as well, 5-0, playing against Ice Barrier, Megalith, Dino, ABC, as well as Unchained. So we had a lot of success on the stream with the 40 card build, and because I know a lot of people are going to ask what changes I made between the 40 and 41 card build, and those changes were I cut a Called by the Grave and 1 Torrential to add in 2 copies of Phoenix Wing Windblast, and the main reason I wanted to play that card again is because it gives us a very good chance at outing problematic spells and traps, things that Torrential and Strike cannot deal with. So yeah, we had a pretty successful run on stream, and hopefully we can carry that momentum going forward into next Saturday. So yeah, that is going to do it for this episode of One Deck One Month. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did and drop a comment down below, and also consider sharing this video with a friend. And also subscribe if you haven't already so we can hit 20,000 subscribers and do that big 20K giveaway. But I'm feeling pretty good and confident about next week, and I think we'll do better. I hope we do better, but I think we will. So thank you guys for watching. Of course, as always, Winter Kill us signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one. And of course, a thanks goes out to all the YouTube channel members supporting this channel, and a special thanks to our Divine level channel members, and they are Zors, Cadillacs, 84, and Remtrox H. Thank you guys so much for your continued and very generous support of the channel.